There's a pattern I've been noticing recently, and that's when a business owner signs up for a CRM, like Go High Level or HubSpot, whatever it may be. They pay for it every month, obviously, and they might even set it up, get some contacts or two in there, maybe build a pipeline or two, but then nothing. They just do nothing after that, right? And this is backed by proof, right? Here at Go Launch, we've worked with over 500 plus businesses. Some of them are doing 500K a year, some of them are doing 50 million a year. And across that entire portfolio, the pattern is pretty much the same, right? When businesses come to us, most of them are using about 10% of what they're actually paying for in these CRMs. The CRM, isn't a problem, it's not broken, but the way it's being used is. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 biggest CRM mistakes I see over and over again. And it's not going to be based on theory or like best practices. These are patterns from real businesses, real accounts and real numbers. Let me give you the landscape first. 90% of the businesses we've worked with had some sort of dormant CRM system in place, okay? And look, I get it. You bought the CRM because someone told you it would organize your business, it would help you track leads, it would help your team stay, on the same page. And it can do all of that, but only if it is set up to do so. So what I actually end up seeing when, businesses tell me they use a CRM and I actually look into it is, people are paying $97, $297, sometimes $500 a month for a platform that they log into like once a week to check if a lead came in. And that's it. There's no pipeline movement. There's no automation, no integration with anything else in the business. And at that point, you don't have a CRM. You have a very expensive spreadsheet, really. Let's get into those 5 mistakes. And I want you to be honest with yourself throughout this video. Listen to this because I promise you, at least 2 of them are going to sound familiar. All right, let's start with mistake number 1. You're using your CRM as a contact list and not an actual pipeline. Now, this is the most common one by far. You have contacts in your system, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands, but there are no stages, no movements. Leads come in, they sit in one status, and then nobody moves them forward. Whether it's even manual movement or automated movement, nothing is going on. I'll give you a real example, actually. We audited a professional services firm that had about 809 leads just sitting in 2 pipeline stages. There was a new lead and a prospect. That's it. 809 opportunities were just sitting there, and 0 had moved forward. 0. Another firm, they had about 1,260 opportunities sitting in one status, which was open. 0 moved to 1. So, and none moved to lost either, just parked in one pipeline stage. So that's not a pipeline, right? That's a parking lot. And here's what makes this expensive, right? Every one of those leads was paid for, right? You paid for ads to get eyeballs. They opted in and then they entered into your CRM, right? So they were paid for, they were acquired. Whether it was ad spend, referrals, or even organic, right? It was time that was caused to get them. So someone invested something to get that person into that CRM and then nothing happened. So that's a very big problem. All right, let's move on to the second mistake. And this one has 2 sides. You either have no automation running or you have the wrong automation running. And honestly, I'm not sure which side is worse, right? On one side, you have businesses with like 0 automated follow-up, not broken follow-up, like 0, okay? And across our portfolio of clients, somewhere between 35 and 62% of businesses, depending on obviously the industry, had absolutely nothing running when we first came in. Like every follow-up was manual. Every reminder was a sticky note or a mental note. And when things got busy, which they always do, the follow-up just stops. And then on the other side, you have businesses where a previous provider set up automations that nobody understands. And we walked into one account actually where the automations accidentally fired on live clients during active legal proceedings. Like the client's own team sent us a message in all caps. Our clients are getting messages from you and it has to stop. It wasn't from us. It was from your broken system, right? Another business had the wrong qualification logic running for like 4 months straight. Every single lead was getting routed to their cheapest offer instead of the right flagship offer. And 4 months worth of revenue was just gone like that. You're right, what could have been. And nobody even noticed until we audited the account for them. Anyway, follow-up alone is a whole conversation, right? And I actually do have a video where I break that down, so go check it out. But the CRM level failure here is simple. If your automations aren't set up correctly, or they're not set up at all, the system is doing nothing for you. All right, that brings me to my third mistake. And this is the one that's invisible. Your data is dirty and it is destroying everything downstream. Let me explain. One business we worked with sent their first real email campaign after importing their contact list, right? 58.9% of it bounced. That's almost 6 out of 10 contacts that were garbage data, and they had no idea. Here's another example actually. Another client's email trust score collapsed from 70% or 70 out of 100 down to 30 because their sending domains were completely misconfigured. So that means their emails were going straight to spam. And the wild part about that, their mail tested scores were coming back perfect, 10 out of 10, but the emails were still landing in spam anyway. Let's think about that for a second, because I remember when we did an audit, we found email deliverability issues in like 93% of the businesses in our portfolio that we've worked with our clients. And here's the thing that should concern you. About 2 out of 3 businesses that have this problem don't even know that they have it until someone shows it to them. So it's very scary. And as a business owner, you need to be on top of these things. So if your CRM is full of duplicate records, unvalidated contacts, and outdated information, every decision you make off that data is compromised. Your reporting is wrong, your campaign's underperforming, and you're paying to acquire leads that your own system is quietly wasting. And this brings me now to mistake number 4. So this is a quiet one because it doesn't look like a crisis. It just slowly degrades everything. And that is that nobody owns the CRM. So here's what happens. The CRM gets set up, maybe it even gets set up well, but nobody's job is to maintain it. Nobody is responsible for making sure stages get updated, notes get logged, old records get cleaned up. So the team defaults to what's comfortable, right? They track deals in their own spreadsheets, they keep notes in their head, they use the CRM when they remember to, which is almost never. So this is very interesting because one business owner told me that, like, straight up, he's like, I am horrible at process stuff. And look, that's honest, right? A lot of business owners are. They own operators, they're in the trenches, right? They're good at selling, they're good at delivering. Process is just not your thing. But if nobody owns the CRM, then the CRM becomes a ghost town. And once that happens, getting the team to trust it again is like 10 times harder than setting it up right the first time. Actually, one thing we did to kind of stop this problem from happening is we introduced very often Slack notifications. What do I mean by that? We use Slack for internal communication with the team. We use Go High Level for the CRM. And we have multiple pipelines inside High Level for the different areas of the business, right? Sales, operations, marketing, whatever it may be. And how we do it is every time a lead, moves across a pipeline's stage or any activity, whatever it is, even if it's like a document being viewed, it will push a Slack notification to the relevant Slack channel with the links, everything about the lead, what happened, and link to go back to that specific stage and Go High Level. And by doing that, what it does, it allows the team members to keep getting notifications every time an activity happens with the lead they're, assigned to. And it makes them consistently always go back to Go High Level. So High Level is the source of truth for everything, and they're always going back to it because not only have we trained them to make sure they're using it properly, but we're forcing them to because they get spammed with notifications whenever something happens which is relevant to them, which makes them want to go back to see what's going on. So it's very good method that we've used there. Okay, and that brings me to the 5th mistake and the last one actually for this video. This one actually showed up in every single industry or niche that we worked with, and we've worked with over 14 at this point. Okay, and that is that your CRM is an island. On average, more than 60% of the businesses we audit are running 3 to 7 disconnected platforms that do not ever talk to each other. So that is what I mean when I say your CRM is an island. Actually, one business owner, I remember, they were managing 9 separate tools. 9. I think they were like a healthcare practice. So it makes sense that they have 9, right? Another one told us, and this is a direct quote, we have like a ton of Zaps tying everything together, all the platforms together, and that's fine. Don't get me wrong, Zapier is good. We use Zapier all the time. What you don't want to do is use Zapier to duct tape systems that could be done very easily in one CRM. Because now you're adding more moving parts to the system that's unnecessary, where data can be lost, where integration can break. Right? So Zapier is fine. It can be used, and you can definitely use other tools and integrate them into your CRM, like specialist tools, or as you scale and you reach your point where you want to use the best version of a feature, then you go to a tool that only does that feature. then that makes sense. But for most cases, for most businesses, a CRM like Go High Level can do the job and everything that you'll ever need it to do. So with that being said, like the CRM should be the center of your business operations, right? Leads come in, the pipeline tracks them, automations follow up, the calendar books them, payments happen, payments close them, all in one system. And when the CRM is disconnected from everything else, you lose data between the platforms, you lose time switching between the tools, and you lose leads in the gap between them. So what does the perfect outcome look like, you may ask? Well, we know what that looks like because we've actually done it for ourselves, but also for, obviously our portfolio of clients. So I'll give you an actual real example. One business was converting about 2.78%, let's say 3% of their traffic into booked appointments, right? So we rebuilt their entire backend infrastructure, their front end, actually, their backend, their reactivation, and the AI system. So we built their funnels, their follow-up systems, their pipeline structure. And what we saw is with the exact same traffic, the same offer, the same audience, the same ad spend every single month, their conversion rate jumped to 8.36%. That's basically 3 times more booked appointments from the exact same number of visitors. So from around 14,000 visitors or so, they were getting, 8,000 opt-ins, and nearly 1,200 of them were getting booked in. So, this is not magic. This is what happens when the system is actually configured to do what it's supposed to do. And that's just an example of fixing like the front end to capture the leads, right? The capture system. What about the reactivation system? One client, when we consolidated, all the different tools and emailing platforms into one system, we collected all their leads in the database, and we basically were able to reactivate them, and they closed 25% of that reactivated list. So in that month, like, your revenue did basically doubled. And that's the part that I really want you to hear, right? In most cases, the CRM itself is not the problem. The configuration is the problem. The structure is the problem. The fact that nobody set it up to actually run your sales process, like, that is the problem. This is what I've learned after working with over 500 plus businesses, right? Again, doing anywhere from 500K a year all the way up to 50 million a year. In fact, I've literally worked with like literal billionaires, right? Like Vic Keller. CRM mistakes are never just CRM mistakes. They're infrastructure mistakes, right? When a business treats its CRM as like an afterthought, it's usually treating its entire revenue infrastructure as an afterthought. The follow-up is broken, the data is bad, integrations don't exist, the team doesn't use the tools, and all of those things compound over time. So this is part of a bigger pattern that I see. Businesses will spend thousands on marketing, on ads, on getting leads through the door, right? The capture system, which is fine. That's part of it. But the infrastructure that's supposed to catch those leads, move them through a pipeline, follow up with them, and convert them into paying customers, right? But that part gets treated like a set it and forget it project. It's not. It's a system. And systems need architecture. They need ownership, and they need someone who understands how all the pieces connect. So the 5 mistakes I just walked you through, they're not 5 separate problems. They're 5 symptoms of the same root cause. The CRM was never set up as a system. It was set up as a tool, and there's a massive difference. So here's what I would tell you to do. Open your CRM today or tomorrow, whenever it is. Just make sure you do it and look at your pipeline. Are leads actually moving through the stages? Are they parked? Look at your automations. Are they running? Are they running correctly? Look at your data. When was the last time someone cleaned it? And be honest about who owns it, because if the answer is nobody, then you got to fix that right away. Now, if you're watching this and thinking that sounds exactly like my business, you're not alone, right? The pattern I just told you has been seen across 500 plus businesses I've worked with across 14 industries that are doing up to 50 million a year. The good news is it is fixable. The structure just has to be intentional. All right, I will see you in the next video.